Today we're going to be making a dress. I've had dreams of a gingham dress, red specifically. I have yet to find one. Abercrombie & Fitch came out with one. It was like $79. It immediately sold out in my size, and I can't stop thinking about it. And while no, it's not the perfect gingham dress of my dreams, it was pretty darn close, but it got me thinking I should just make one. So that's what we're going to do. This is the dress in question. I like the cut of it. I like that it's a V-neck and then it's like 3 different pieces, right? I don't necessarily like that it's horizontal on top and then tilted on the bottom part of the dress. I don't know if there's a better way to say that. Probably, whatever. So I think for my design, it'll probably be like vertical and horizontal gingham all the way through the dress instead of like 2 different types of patterns. Orientation of the pattern. There is a slight dilemma, that being I haven't made a dress since I was 12. However, I know I can do it. So the first thing I tried to do was find a pattern on Etsy that was kind of similar to the Abercrombie dress, but unfortunately I didn't have much luck because the only things I could find that were kind of similar happened to be AI generated and wasn't really trying to do that. So I then decided I was just going to try to make this pattern on my own. The only real problem here is that I don't know how to do that. So I decided to follow along with So Anastasia's sloper bodice video. And if you are anything like me, that word might be new to you. So let me just explain what a sloper is. A sloper. It is essentially just a pattern for a fitted garment that is made to your measurements. And you can make a sloper for a few different things, but the one I chose today is just a bodice pattern, so just the top. And the goal here is that it's gonna fit me like a glove. We have pattern pieces. So I'm not as happy with them as I thought I would be. It's hard to figure out if it's just my body that makes the measurements look the way they look, or if I did it wrong. And I think the only way I'm gonna figure that out is if I just try to make it in fabric. Because, you know, you can't take paper and put it on your body and see if that fits. I mean, like some people could, but I can't. So alas, we have to make this out of fabric. And if it works out, I will continue on and we can start drafting up the actual dress that I want to make. But for now, it's just going to be whatever this thing is called, which basically just looks like a high neck tank top that's like cropped. So I've had this sewing machine for a really long time. I want to say it was a hand-me-down from my mom. It's either her old sewing machine or she bought it for me when I was like 12 and taking classes. Either way, it's a pretty old machine. It's pretty spectacular though. I did open it up the other day just to oil it and like clean out all the lint because, like I said, I haven't sewn in a long time. There was no way I probably ever did that before. So it needed it. So yeah, I have to figure out how to get the dart marked out. I think I have some chalk somewhere. So I will go find the chalk. We'll mark out the dart. We'll pin it together. And I'll get back to you when I actually have this piece put together. I didn't know how to fit that into the transitions, so here we are. I've got my sloper bodice all Okay, so I have my sloper bodice all stitched up. It's not that quiet in here. This is fine. I cut off all of the extra seam allowance that was on it, save for the back, which still has 1/2 inch on each side. I had my boyfriend pin me into it because I didn't feel like adding a zipper, and I am pleasantly surprised. It fits really well. So here it is on. I nailed my side seams. These are straight, which makes me feel really good because when I was making the paper pattern, I was like freaking out about it because it just looked wrong. And it's because I was comparing it to the pattern that was created using like a dress form. And obviously I'm not a dress form. I don't know if the bust area is quite perfect. It's not maybe as fitted as it's supposed to be, but I do think there are only 2 darts in it, that maybe this is just what I am going for. So the plan now is I'm just gonna like draw on this on my own body and try to map out what I kind of want the v-neck to look like, how deep I want it to be, how small the straps are gonna be, and then we will kind of like deconstruct this top and then put it onto another paper pattern, and then we'll move on from there. We're not going for perfection right now, we're just going for like a general idea. This is a good start, but I think we still have a lot of work to do in shaping this out before I can actually start cutting from the real fabric. Okay, so I pulled out this other dress that I really like where the neckline is. It's like deep, but it's not like anything crazy. I'm going to try to use this V as my reference. So to try to salvage this, I took my sloper bodice, laid it on top of my dress, and tried to trace out the V-neck that I liked. However, I came to realize this probably wasn't going to work out that well. I don't know if this is working. Part of me feels like, because I already really love the shape of this dress, that maybe I should have just used that as my reference instead of trying to make a sloper bodice. I don't know, it's just like the shoulders fit nice on this dress. I like the neckline. It might just be easier to come up with a design based on this dress rather than, doing it from scratch. That being said, I have come this far. So I don't know. Let me start out by saying I did not throw out my sloper. I decided to combine the two. Essentially, all I did was trace out the neckline that I really liked from the dress, and once I had that on my pattern paper, I just took my sloper bodice, or my original sloper pattern, and tried to combine the two by lining them up. I just tried to match it up with the shoulder and middle seam. In hindsight, this might not have been the best way to line these two pieces up, but we persevere. Learning requires making some mistakes. So we have the plan. The only part I'm not feeling very confident in is this little area where the arm straps are going to attach to one another. I tried to model it off the sloper bodice, but it is not translating the way it's supposed to. More modifications to come, but I think we're getting closer. The next day, I got to work making a skirt pattern for this dress. And honestly, this part was pretty simple. The first thing I had to do was take measurements for my waist, my hips, how far the distance was between the two, and I got to work marking them out on my pattern paper. I drew this pattern out on the fold line, so the marks that I'm making perpendicular to that fold line are only 1/4 of my waist and 1/4 of my hips, since my skirt pattern is only 1/4 of a skirt. Using those marks at my waist and my hip, I just softened out the line that connects the two, and then I had to figure out how long to make the skirt. So, starting at my waistline, I measured down 18 inches and marked a point. Next thing to decide was how wide I want my skirt to be. So since this is a very basic skirt pattern, I added about 1 to 2 inches of length to my hip measurement and drew a line that long along the hemline. And then, like most patterns suggest that you do, I just kind of curved that up slightly before connecting it back up to the hip measurement. And there you have it, a very basic skirt pattern. But we're not exactly done yet. The front of the skirt is just a little different from the back, since we have a little triangle piece that connects our bust to our skirt portion. To figure out how tall I wanted the tip of this triangle to be, I just measured the distance between my waist and the bottom of the V-neck and marked that point back on my pattern paper. I then connected this point to the side of my waist with a slight curve. And now we're actually done making the pattern pieces. Okay, so I have all of my pattern pieces cut out, Yay. Before I can actually pin the whole thing together, I have to figure out how to do the ruching on this top bodice piece. The bottom waistline on this has a little bit extra fabric on it. The idea is that I'm going to do a basting stitch along the bottom of it right over here. And then once the basting stitch is on, I'm going to cinch it together a little bit so it meets the same measurements as the top of the skirt pattern. Set the stitch length to the longest setting, typically around 5 on most machines. I think I might have forgotten that I need to make my tails really long, but I think this will be fine. It's like that long. That's fine. I'll make it work. Okay. This part was so much simpler than I expected. To achieve the ruched look that I was going for, all you're gonna need to do is grab your bobbin thread, hold it tight, and then bunch up the fabric. From there, you're just gonna kind of zhuzh it around a little bit until you're happy with the look. I concentrated a lot of the ruching towards the center of the bust because I thought it looked the best. And then once I was happy with it, I just decided to go ahead and start putting the actual garment together. This looks so good. Come on. You can't really see it yet, but I don't know. I think I'm actually gonna be able to do this. I'm like really impressed. I sewed the wrong sides together. Okay, so it's not so bad. It's really not that good though either. I have jeans on underneath this, so as far as like the hip measurement goes, I think I definitely have enough like extra seam allowance, enough wiggle room. I think it could go just a smidge deeper. I did take down way too much on the armpit, so I'm gonna have to bring back more on the front. As far as ruching goes, I'm debating if I add like a little bit extra fabric. And then I am going to adjust this right here. Change like not the shape necessarily so much, but just change a little bit of it because it's like good on my hips, a little tight on my waist, probably not enough breathing room. Okay, so game plan now is I am going to take some measurements, see where I want to add a little extra give, see where I want to make a little bit of an adjustment, and then I will translate that onto the paper pattern and I will meet you over there and see like where we're at. All right, go time. Okay, wait, hold on. Before I sew this whole thing up, I should probably tell you what adjustments I made. The first thing I did was add some fabric back into the armhole. I just kind of eyeballed this by measuring over 1 inch perpendicular to the original armhole and then smoothing it over with a curve. Next, I adjusted my neckline just a bit by moving the entire thing over about 3/8 of an inch. And after that, the only adjustment I wanted to make was to the front of the skirt pattern. I decided to replace the curve that connects the bodice to the skirt with a straight line. And my thought process here is that it would add in some ease and emphasize the triangle shape I was going for. All right, cool. Now we can continue on. Okay, so I did it. It literally looks like an actual dress. I went from literally nothing to this. This is so freaking cool. Okay, so let's talk about it. Making this a straight line, should have done that from the start. Didn't really think about it, but we learned. So I'm happy I figured that out now because it fits so much better now. It's not too tight anywhere. It's just, it was what it was supposed to be the whole time. I like the coverage I'm getting over in this area now. It is a little loose though, and it was already loose, right? It could just be because we don't have darts anymore. I'm not 100% sure, but I think overall I'm really happy with the way this is sitting on me. I think I'm ready to cut out the actual pattern. So let's get going and make this into an actual dress. I have been staring at this dress for like 3 days straight. It started out really well. I looked at it and I was like, this is so perfect. And then I looked at it a little longer, and then a little longer, and then even longer, and I found every imperfection in it that I did not like. I am a perfectionist. I think many people can find themselves in this exact situation where, a project just never gets finished because it's not quite perfect enough. And while I think my perfectionism has stopped me from doing most things in my life, I have decided to stop at the second mock-up. Let me just start by outlining the things that I don't like, and then I'll just tell you what my solution will be. In my final version of this dress, I'm hoping that the straps sit a little closer to my neckline. I think I moved them out a little too far in that second mock-up. Not really liking it. Got a little bit of a gaping armpit situation going on the dress. I don't know how I'm gonna fix that. It might just fix itself when we move the neckline in a little bit, and if it doesn't, maybe I'll use a dart. Undecided. For now, we've already done 2 versions. If I had an endless supply of time and white fabric, maybe I would keep going. But I don't know, we're just gonna go with it. I think it's time to start cutting out the actual red gingham fabric. So let's go do that. I think we are ready. It's not a new day. I have yoga soon and I didn't feel like wearing that outfit anymore. So I have my new pattern pieces cut out. I'm like a little nervous to cut it out of the red gingham, but you just gotta go for it, right? I say that like I haven't put a lot of effort into this. Like it's probably gonna be fine. But last time I spoke to you, I'm probably not in the voiceover part, just like in like the last time I looked at you and spoke to you like this. This had a straight edge. Now it's got a curvy one. Hopefully that should lay over the bust better. Other than that, the changes were pretty minor. Except I did have to like do some finagling because things didn't line up correctly, which I did notice when I made the mock-up, but fixed it, so. Bro, why are birds so sad? I'm listening to John Green's an anthology, The Anthropocene in Review, and I'm listening to his essay about the OO. And I don't know why I'm so emotional about it, but to be a bird and to sing out your song and not even understand why your entire species hasn't responded to you because they're extinct and you are completely alone. And you still sing your song anyways, looking for another bird. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's all. Let's check in. This dress is coming together. It's taking about as long as I expected it to take. I mean, that's kind of a lie because I expect everything to take 45 minutes and then it never actually does. I've probably been doing this for a week, which is fine. I've only had an hour or 2 each day to really put some effort into this project. So that being said, we are getting there. The other day I ordered this invisible zipper and it just came in yesterday. I don't have the correct sewing foot that you need to put a zipper in so you can get right up close to the edge of the zipper. But I've decided if I can't make it work with my regular sewing foots that I have and any of the ones that came with my machine, I will just hand sew it in. because ideally I would like this zipper to be like as invisible as possible. I have decided to put it on the side. Originally I had thought about closing it on the back of the dress, but I didn't account for that when I was cutting out my back panels. So it's probably best if I just use the side seams that we already have available to us to put the zipper in. All that being said, we have a bunch of stuff to do today, but I think we can make it happen. So I'm just gonna keep going. I tried to use my sewing machine to put the zipper in, and I think I got like a little too close to the track because we're having this problem now. Fortunately for me, the pack that I bought came with 2 zippers, so I'm just gonna seam rip this one out, and if I can't get this one back on its track, I'll just use the other zipper. I guess now I'll just hand sew it, because clearly trying to use the sewing machine is not the best idea.
No.
Okay, we need to check in because I am like all over the place, genuinely. I want to throw this dress out, which like might be a little aggressive. Okay, admittedly, yes, that's aggressive. Let me not do that. But let me just tell you where I am at, okay? We're like almost perfect. Almost, okay? But the dress does not fit. Here's a little clip of me wearing it. It's like, okay. It's really like not the worst thing ever, I will admit. Maybe I'm being a little harsh on myself. Maybe just getting a little frustrated, just a little bit. But totally salvageable. I can see that. Not trying to make a liar of myself, but we are making another mock-up. This will be mock-up number 4. But I know what the game plan is, okay? We need to add some ease to this dress, right? Around the waist. Just like an inch of ease will do. As you can see, I didn't even bother dealing with the armpits on this like I said I would. They need a dart, but by the time I realized this dress really didn't fit at all, I was too lazy to put a dart in. I did measure out what I think it's supposed to be, but I'm gonna tackle that on the next version. So maybe I was a little ambitious with this project, and maybe I was a little overconfident in my abilities, but I promise you, by the end of this video, you will see a pretty dress that I have made, and it'll be better than whatever I've created just now. So I've already started on drafting out my new adjustments to the pattern, so we'll just continue on from there, and I will see you again soon. And so I got back to work. Like I mentioned earlier, I ran out of white fabric, so I decided to use this pink fabric that I picked up at Joann's right before they officially closed. Sad to see them go, but I appreciate a sale. I added about an inch of ease to this new pattern. And yes, you heard me right, I did say an inch. So I will let you think about how this might go, but we're already here, right? Despite a few mistakes, this is where things started clicking for me, all right? I'm so happy that I decided to do this again because I included facing. So I've sewn in my lining. I'm just gonna turn it inside out and you'll see what the goal is. It's gonna be a lot more difficult than I anticipated. Okay, just take a look at this. This looks so much nicer. Admittedly, this is way too skinny, but you know, we're still on a mock-up, so it's fine. It's fine, I clearly have a lot to learn, but we're getting a lot closer. This is looking really good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. I also took some time to figure out a better way to attach the bodice to the skirt. The way I went about this was by ironing down my seam allowance. And this was just to give me a better visual to figure out, okay, where does the bodice portion of the skirt end and where does the skirt portion of the skirt start? And then yeah, I just kept sewing it together and we'll see where we go. It has been a little time since I touched this project, like 2 weeks. And a crap ton has happened in those 2 weeks. Last time I saw you, I was working on the mock-up, I think. That's like literally where I just pulled you from, right? You were just looking at the mock-up. That failed. That pink mock-up, she was way too big. When I said let me add an inch, I added an inch. But before I get like too ahead of myself, let me just take a step back. Here is a message from past Celeste when she figured out where we should be moving on from. I'm a little confused, and I'm going to tell you why. I tried on mock-up number 3, and it fits. Are you shocked? I'm shocked. I'm going to take an educated guess here and just think about when I tried on mock 3 originally, and that was at the end of the day. I was bloated. I had just gotten my period, and probably immediately convinced myself this didn't fit, but it was just me. I just didn't feel cute. But I wasn't going to feel cute in anything, so it happens. Let this be your warning to anyone who makes mock-ups. Try things on when you feel good. You know, it's the same way when you go shopping. Like, don't buy clothing when you're in a bad mood. You're going to step into the dressing room and everything's going to look bad. If you don't feel good, I don't think clothing can fix that. I think personally, it was a me problem. I just needed to get out of that headspace. And I'm in a new headspace today, and I'm glad I tried the dress on again because it's so much closer to the end goal than mock-up number 4 was. So although I've maybe wasted a lot of time, we're just going to take a step back. I feel a lot more confident in this version of the dress. It still has the same issues that I addressed the first time, but even though mock-up number 4 didn't fit me, like even remotely, I learned a lot about the construction of this garment, so the next step, mock-up 3.2, should be a lot better. Since I figured out that I need to go back to the gingham mock-up, which was supposed to be the final but is now a mock-up, a lot of things have happened, all right? First of all, excuse me, I'm engaged. Didn't see that one coming, and that's all I have to say on that. But if you want to see the ring, here's a little close-up. He did well. Sorry, I can't think anymore. That was just, I forgot how exciting that was. I could do this. Today I'm gonna work on the red gingham dress. In like the past week, I've been working on things off camera just because I knew I wasn't getting anywhere when I was trying to like film everything. So I figured out a whole new way to put the dress together, which involves facing. And yes, you saw that on the pink mock-up. I was like starting to incorporate facing, but I have since figured out even more how to do that properly. So that's what we're gonna work on today. I am just gonna go cut up everything and we're gonna put it together because I think I figured it out. Like I think this is the final version, and I really hope I'm not getting ahead of myself, but like, we are almost done. So let's go do that. Okay, so here are the pattern pieces. I have updated a lot on them. On the front bodice pattern, I added more space to the bust by just cutting it in half and then like separating it. I'll give you a little close-up of that. I think the armpit gape problem that I've been having the whole time was not only because the original cut was a little too low, it's because there wasn't enough fabric to cover my bust. So by adding more fabric, I think I've eliminated the armpit gape, which means I don't think I'm gonna need to add a dart, but you'll see on this pattern, I had a little marking for where the dart would have gone anyways, but I have since changed the pattern up a little bit since adding that dart in, so I don't know if it's applicable anymore. But I'll show you what I made last night, which was this little guy. This little piece is lined, and it was made from remnants of the original 2 mock-ups because I ran out of white fabric, so sorry, we'll never get to see those again, but here's my mock-up, number 5. I know I'm wearing this over the top, but you can already see all of the improvements to the armpit area. Imagine this is ruched? I hate that word. Imagine this is ruched properly. Runched? Okay. It's proper, right? You're not gonna need a friggin' dart. Sorry. I'm not sorry. It's gonna look perfect. It's gonna look perfect. I did not nail the shoulder seams. That has been giving me so much stress over the past week. But, I did figure it out. Didn't nail it the first time. As you can see, this one is like kind of peeking up. This one's a lot flatter, and that is because I changed up the angle of where they meet. It was a little too angular, so I marked out how much space I needed to take away and then just drew it onto the pattern piece. So we are good to go. What else did I change? I figured out why everything wasn't lining up. It was really simple, actually. When I made the sloper bodice, the waistline on the front bodice piece was like 8 inches. When I say 8 inches, I mean like 1/4 of the waist was 8 inches. And then the back fourth of my waist was 7.5 inches. And when I made the skirt pattern, all of the waistlines were the same length. They were all like 7.5, 7.5, which is why they weren't meeting up properly, because they weren't the same. So instead of adjusting the waist on my bodice patterns, I just adjusted the waist on the skirt. So the waist on the front is a little bit longer than the waist on the back, but add them all together and they equal my waist plus some ease. Did that make any sense? I think it did. What else did I do? I guess that was kind of it. I think we're ready to make a dress. So let's keep going. I sewed it together wrong. I sewed it together wrong. Oh my god. I mixed up my armhole and my neck hole, and now my side seams don't match, and my arm is too low. How did I even do that? Neck, arm. I cut it out on the wrong fold. I was supposed to fold this down, but I folded this down. Oh my gosh. I don't have enough fabric to do this again. I'm just gonna try to pin it together and see what happens. And then if it's not fixable, I don't know, maybe I can salvage it. Okay, we can do it. We can do it, it's fine. It's fine, it's fine. So I think this is salvageable. Hear me out. So, okay, first of all, it looks pretty good. I'm just saying. But you can see right here is where the disconnect is happening. I think I'll just sew it up anyways, and then, well, I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do yet. I do know I am just gonna sew it up. Debating about either cutting off a small triangle, or maybe it'll shrink a bit when we ruche it anyways. The biggest problem this has caused is it brings my waist up a little bit, which is gonna give this dress more of the slip-on vibe than it is a fitted dress. So like, it'll still be a pretty dress, but we're getting further and further away from the Abercrombie dress, which I'm not mad about. I mean, like, it's fine. I'm just gonna have to think of a new thumbnail. We're not totally lost here. I'm just gonna sew it up. I guess we'll find out together how I fix it. Oof. That aside, let me show you how I was gonna close up the side seam. I'm gonna open it up. Side seam of the right side of the dress, side seam of the lining. Gonna bring down the side seam of the top of the dress. So right sides together, right sides of the linings together, and for the sake of it, we're just gonna ignore the extra triangle. I think we're okay. It looks so nice. It's certainly coming along. All right, we can keep going. Also, I'm just gonna cut off the triangle. I think that's my best bet. So I just laid them on top of each other. Just snip it. See? Perfect. Okay, this guy is now ready But before I can put it onto the dress, gotta sew up the dress. So I'm gonna do it right now. I'm just gonna sew it up from the side seams. Do you think I could learn how to do a French seam? Yeah, I honestly do. I think I could figure that out. All right, let's look it up. How to do a French seam. Okay, no, I can do this. Easy. Okay, so I have to cut some stuff off. Because I had to trim that triangle down, this triangle piece is coming up way too far in order for the back of the dress to hit the new waistline. I needed to meet here now with seam allowance. This originally was measured out for 7 inches down, but now we're gonna go 6 inches down, so I'm just gonna cut off a little bit of that triangle so these pieces line up better. I don't know if any of that made sense, but we're just trimming the triangle because it's too long now. Because we put the dress together wrong. It's working, it's fine. I'm going to start with the back. And I'm gonna make sure the right sides of my dress are together. Starting with my side seams, make sure those are lined up. I'm gonna move my darts around just because I don't wanna bulk up too much of this seam. Okay, then go to the front of the dress. Most important part of this is your center. Oh, do I want to attach these to each other? Slight change of plans. I am going to hand sew a little bit. I'll show you where. I want this to meet in like the perfect little point. So I think what I'm going to do is hand sew the 2 bodice pieces together, just so these points right here meet together. And then I'm going to join it to this part. And that way we'll just have like a nicer finish. So I'm gonna go do that now. All right, look at that. And now we will have a nice place where everything meets, and it'll really help when we put the whole thing together. Part of me is so nervous to actually do this that I was thinking about going in with a basting stitch. I feel like I'm overthinking this whole thing. This is already so good. It's not perfect, right? But like, I have to remind myself we're not going for perfection here. We are really learning something. And so if I can make this successfully, at least successfully enough for like being so like new-ish, relearning it really, I don't know. I feel like that's pretty cool as is. I really don't need it to be perfect. I just need it to be wearable. And I really think we're gonna get there. Okay, this is gonna be slow. Slow. I'm so scared. So scared, so scared, so scared, so scared. Okay. Oh my goodness. Huh, okay. Ooh. Okay. It's like as bad as I thought it was actually. Side seam is not perfect. Overall though, it looks freaking great. Look at that. That's pretty clean, no? I can feel better now. Just gonna do some finishing touches on it now. Like we're gonna hem the bottom, gonna fix that inside seam, but oh my gosh, I think this is fine. So I have to come down from that, but I'll get back to you when I feel better. We're pivoting. This isn't working. Each step that I take is a step closer to a really well-made garment and a step further away from the garment I set out to make. We made a slip dress. Not even like the best fitting one, but also not the worst fitting one. So new plan. I'm accepting defeat. I'm not quite losing here, but I didn't make the dress I set out to make. So, you know, I don't have the resources to get more red gingham. I don't have the time to make this again. So considering this is like a pretty well-made dress already, I'm just gonna like lean into the slip dress part, which means we have a few more alterations. Fortunately, we just used a basting stitch. So first thing I'm gonna do is take it apart, pulling out the basting stitch, really only on the front of the dress. I'm gonna move all of the ruching that's stuck on the waist right now closer to the bust. Once that's in a place that I like it, I'm gonna make little ties out of the scrap gingham that I do have, and we're gonna attach a waist tie so this dress can cinch a little better. Also hemming it. I did hem it. I didn't do it the way I think I should have. I tried to stitch it up. It was giving me problems. I used one of those like iron-on tapes to just put it together. It's fine. It looks good. Maybe not part of the learning process, but like it's fine. It's fine. Also, hey, I did it. We have a dress. Before I get ahead of myself, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. I hope you had a good time. And also, I really hope I didn't disappoint you by not making the dress that I set out to make in the first place. I am still really pleased with what I did end up with. I mean, like, I can't help it. It's been almost 13 years since I put a dress together, and even then, I wasn't very good at it. And in the past month of actually learning how to sew again, I feel like I've learned so much. So, while not my original intent, it is a fully functioning dress that fits well, it's comfortable, it's finished well. I really am confident this is gonna last me, hopefully more than a month, but I hope it actually lasts. I think the way I put it together is pretty structurally sound, so I'm not worried about it at all, except maybe the hem. But everything else about it is pretty stellar. I wouldn't say the skills that I learned are quite instinctual yet, but I definitely have a much better grasp on sewing, and then I think the next time I make something, it's just gonna be that much better. Also, throughout this whole process, I did keep seeing slip dresses, and I kept thinking to myself, ooh, I should make one of those. And no, I did not hijack this on purpose. It's just, I'm missing something in this process that would have made this more fitted. And it might have been all the way from the start when I decided to include ruching. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But you live and you learn, and it's okay. I am very excited to actually wear this out and style it. I'm thinking already little t-shirt underneath it or something, but it's a very cozy dress, and I'm thoroughly impressed with myself. And again, thank you so much for joining me. If you had a good time here, don't forget to subscribe. And without further ado, let's take a look at the dress. Rung in my ears. That's probably a no-no. Do you feel good about that?